Greetings from Kardec Radio, where we are bringing listeners another audiobook. This one entitled, Who is Afraid of Death, written by Richard Simonetti. This 18th installment covers Chapter 34, entitled Passport. Enjoy. Chapter 34, Passport. Learn how to live well, and you shall know how to die well. Confucius. After presenting the lecture about death in a city in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil, when I was answering the audience's questions, a girl commented, "The subject impresses me a whole lot. That is why I decided to attend this lecture, even though I am not a Spiritist. I must confess, however, that after your enlightenment, I, who had always been afraid of death, am now terrified." Fortunately, this picturesque confession is an exception, since the fear of death is usually a consequence of a lack of information. I have noticed that many people are able to face it with serenity when they learn about the subject. Nevertheless, it is essential to recognize that we will only overcome the fear of death for good when we adjust our lives to the spiritual realities unveiled by the Spiritist doctrine, trying to define the meaning of the human existence. As eternal spirits, temporarily imprisoned within the flesh, we cannot forget that our ultimate and legitimate dwelling is located in the spiritual realms, where we will continue our trials as we overcome the need for incarnation in dense worlds such as the earth, where the difficulties and limitations act like sandpaper, necessary for trimming off our grosser flaws. If we turn our incarnation into a vacation resort marked by laziness and indifference, if we face it as a casino for irresponsible gambling of emotions, if we aim at an artificial heaven sustained by vices and passions, if we experience well-being and safety on the mischievous grounds of immediate interest, ignoring the purposes of existence, we will fatally be afraid of death. After all, we will leave all that behind. And something tells us, deep down inside, that we will be held responsible for compromising our life and for our lack of preparation for death. Those who wander around unaware of the purposes of the reincarnation journey will find out hopelessly and sadly that death, a freeing angel that should unveil wonderful spiritual horizons, has only uncovered the heavy burdens that they have placed upon themselves by making their existence a constant act of inconsequence, postponing the effort for self-renewal. To our benefit, it is essential that we become aware of eternity, knowing that we are not mere groups of cells with intelligence, biological beings that had their origin in the cradle and will disappear in the grave. We are eternal spirits. We already existed before the cradle and will continue to exist after the grave. We must live in accordance with this truth, leaving behind petty illusions, so that we can be free and determined in search of inalienable values of virtue and knowledge, our passport for the glorious dwellings in the infinite. It is hard to determine when we are going to be summoned to the spiritual realms. Death is like a thief. Nobody knows how, when, and where it will come. The ideal is to be always ready, living each day as if it were the last one, taking full advantage of the time we have in a disciplined and productive effort to offer the best of ourselves in favor of human improvement. That way, we can be sure to have a happy return to our spiritual nation. As the old Oriental proverb goes, "When you were born, you cried, and the world rejoiced." Live your life so that when you die, the world cries and you rejoice.